Can you do that? Daddy.
Oh, you did, Mommy.
Yeah, Mommy.
Oh.
Yeah. That finger down. Put this finger up.
Yeah.
Come on, this finger. Here you go. Show the camera. Say, I love. Hello, my name is Nikki Zweigel, if you do not know me. That is my son Levi in the background, and that's who this video is about today. We're going to talk about Levi and his hearing aids. So, if you are not familiar with our journey, I am a mom of 3, and Levi is my youngest. He is 4 years old currently. And last year was a bit of a crazy whirlwind of a year. Levi got diagnosed with colitis when he was just 3 years old last year in August. And just a couple weeks later, he got diagnosed with hearing loss in his ears. So it was, from the summer on, it was kind of just learning about these diagnoses, and it was learning about how to be the best advocate for Levi. And we actually took a journey as a family to change our eating habits and our diet so that we can heal his body through diet. And then we went through another journey of getting him some hearing aids because he has hearing loss and he wasn't picking up on speech therapy. We've had quite a bit of interest in him and people asking about the colitis and the hearing aids, so I thought that it'd be best to address it in a video. This video is going to be more geared towards the hearing aids because that's where we're getting a lot of questions here recently, and it's the most visible thing, so I think that people think to ask about the hearing loss over the colitis because they can visibly see the hearing aids on Levi. And I'll be honest, when I heard the diagnosis of hearing loss, I really wasn't thinking very clearly. I remember when the doctor told me, and it was like the Charlie Brown, like wah, wah, wah. Like I couldn't process everything she was saying because we were right in the middle and the thick of him getting diagnosed with the colitis. So I didn't take a lot of information in when she told me that, because these are 2 lifelong things, an autoimmune disease and then a hearing loss. So let's start at the beginning. How in the world did he get diagnosed with hearing loss? My oldest son, when he was 3 years old, he started speech therapy. And he was having a difficult time kind of pronouncing some of the beginning of words and completing the end of words. And he went through speech therapy and he did phenomenal. And all the speech therapy that we were exposed to with my first son, Uriah, it was very helpful, very encouraging, and he just soared. So he went to a speech therapist in Oklahoma, and then went to a speech therapist in Oregon, and then when he started kindergarten, he continued speech therapy through kindergarten, and when he started first grade, he was speaking great, and it was awesome. So then trickled down to my daughter, JL. When she was 4 years old, she began speech therapy, and her as well, she heard the sound, she was able to mimic them, and she just did awesome, and she's now in kindergarten and is continuing that through her school. Now, my son Levi, he was 3 years old. That's when the program starts speech therapy. He's telling me he's 8. He is not 8. The program out here starts speech therapy at 3 years old. So we already knew that he was going to get approved to be into speech therapy, and we really just have heard and always believed that when the oldest child requires speech therapy, a lot of times every other child does after them, because the siblings are hearing their older sibling talk. And if their older sibling is saying something incorrectly, then they're gonna pick up those habits. So it wasn't alarming that all of our children had to be in speech therapy. It was expected, and we kind of just knew that that was gonna be the journey that we were on. And Levi started speech therapy, and he was doing it with JL. They were doing it together at the house. actually at the facility, they were doing it together. And then Levi would shut down a lot during speech therapy. So the speech therapist would play games with him and do things that he enjoyed. She asked me, she was phenomenal, and she asked me what kind of toys he likes, what does he like to do, and we went through a year and a half of really trying to figure out what it is that Levi would open up to. So we did recognize that Levi did have some hard times. Like, he really would just shut down no matter what kind of activities the speech therapist brought, whether he was with JL during the session or alone during the session. He was having these moments of like, he would participate and try, and then he would kind of shut down when he couldn't get it. And so she had suspected that he had a hearing loss. And she said, I'm going to refer you to an audiologist, a ear, nose, throat specialist, and just to get his hearing checked out to see, you know, if that could be a factor in why he is not progressing with speech therapy. So once the referral began, we had to wait a while. You know, they had to call and set us up, and we were a couple months out, and I wasn't really thinking a lot about it. I wasn't really stressed about it. I was thinking, no, he doesn't have a hearing loss, because if I tell him, hey Levi, go put your shoes on, he's gonna get up and go put his shoes on. He can hear fine. Then we got the referral. We hadn't gone to the audiologist yet, and then we got the diagnosis of the colitis. And so that really was, it was really hard for me as his mom. And I'm not saying it wasn't hard for Kirk or for the kids or anything, but it was really hard to hear that. I felt like I failed him. I felt like, how could I have let this happen? He had symptoms for a couple months before he actually got diagnosed. So, you know, I was just guilt on me of like, why didn't I take him into the doctor sooner? And even that, I mean, that's a whole nother video, but even that, I kind of just thought that it was something minor. It wasn't a big issue. So we walked through that, getting diagnosed through that, and changing our diet and everything. And it all took an emotional toll. And then we went to see the audiologist, and I thought, let's just get this out of the way. I know he doesn't have a hearing loss. I know he can hear fine. I know everything's great. And so I went on the last day of summer. I will not forget. My kids were gonna go to school the very next day. And on the last day of summer, I took all three of my children, ages 8, 6, and about to be 4. I took them all to this audiologist appointment, and Levi was getting his hearing tested, which I was familiar with what the process was, because my oldest son also, we were told, had hearing loss when he was younger, but he obviously got healed of that and is great and fine now. And so I kind of knew the process. We were going to go into a booth, and he was going to have to respond to the noises he hears. And that appointment was insane. I had my 2 kids fighting outside of the booth. I had Levi shutting down, not wanting to play these games, didn't like this whole hearing test thing. And when we got done with the hearing test, he didn't complete it all. We got all of one ear, but not the other ear. And I remember she just said pretty much without a doubt, like, he has a hearing loss. And I was like, okay. And she said, but do you have any questions? And I was like, no. I couldn't even think of what to ask. And she said, well, we are gonna have to redo his hearing again. And just to confirm, she's like, but from what I got, I can tell that there are definitely sounds he's not hearing. And she asked me about ear infections, which actually really was like surprising to me, because I guess I've always kind of thought if you have hearing loss, you are just kind of born with it. Like, I didn't realize that there are factors that you can actually, that can expose you to hearing loss. And so she was asking if he had a lot of ear infections when he was a baby, which, as far as I know, he has had no ear infections. So then, you know, that was the immediate thought of the guilt again, where I was like, oh my gosh, did he have an ear infection when he was a baby? And I just didn't know, and I let it go untreated, and now he has hearing loss. And you just have all these crazy emotions, you know, and I took in what she was saying, but I wasn't really like doing a lot with that information because I was so preoccupied with the other health issues. So we went back again to have his hearing tested on the ear that we did not get the first time. And that ear was the same as the others. So now we are dealing with deafness in both ears, and it was really encouraging to me that we were able to talk about the possibility of getting him hearing aids, and that could be helpful to him, not only in learning speech, but in just life in general, because as someone that can hear with both ears, I can't grasp what he is feeling and what he is dealing with. And so I was actually pretty excited to hear that hearing aids were an option for us. That was until we heard the price of hearing aids. Let's just put it this way, hearing aids are not cheap, and insurance will put up a fight to cover hearing aids. So if this is a journey that you find yourself walking out, I really encourage you to just fight for what you know is needed in your situation, and don't give up. And so he has, I don't know all the technical words and phrases I wish I could give you guys, but he has a high frequency hearing loss. So he cannot hear, like the easiest one for me to tell you guys is the S sound. She has shown us graphs and has tried to explain it, but if you don't understand all of the doctor terminology, you're not going to get it, because I still don't fully get it. But I know that he cannot hear certain sounds, certain letter sounds, and an S sound is one of those. So if we say, Levi, look, the school bus, he's not hearing the beginning of that, and he's not hearing the end of that, because he is not hearing those S sounds. So he calls it cool ba, cool ba. And now we learned in these last 4 years of his life to listen to the context of what he's trying to say. So, you know, as a mom, as a parent, as a grandparent, or someone, maybe a daycare provider, you are around a child enough, you can understand how they're talking. And so, you know, Uriah goes on the school bus, so he'll be like, Mom, look, Kuba, Kuba. And I knew that means school bus. But the hearing aids have allowed him to now pick up those sounds. Now, just because he can hear them doesn't mean he can automatically say them. He has to, it is a learning curve of teaching him how to say it, because for the longest time we would say, hey Levi, say school bus. But if he can't hear all those sounds, he's seeing you go, say school bus. And that S he's not hearing, you know? So he has to retrain his brain now to not only hear the sounds, but to now mimic them too. So he is still in speech therapy. He's doing awesome in speech therapy. And now let's get into the transition of the hearing aids. Okay, so I didn't know what to expect when Levi got his hearing aids. We went into an appointment, got him fitted for his hearing aids, the molding inside, and that was still like 2 months, I believe, until we actually had the actual physical hearing aids. And I didn't know what to expect. I don't really know if it was because I was stressed out, or if it's because I was preoccupied with the other health concerns, or really what it was. But I didn't really look into a lot of things to prepare me for what he might be going through. I asked his doctor, but I didn't really talk to a lot of people that had experience with this. And so I didn't really know what to expect. So when we first went into the appointment for to actually get the hearing aids in, I took Kirk with me because Levi still shuts down a lot around his audiologist. Yeah, so we went to the appointment, and it was just Levi and Kirk and myself. And you know, she kind of walked us through how to use these hearing aids and what to kind of expect as far as like when they're dying and when they need to be charged and all this stuff. And we are fortunate enough that his hearing aids are rechargeable, so we don't have to worry about like changing out batteries or anything like that. And when she first put them in, he liked them. He did like them. It wasn't like you see all those like videos of the babies hearing for the first time. It wasn't like that, because putting yourself in Levi's position, he has hearing. It was just a whole new world of hearing, because he can hear. If I say, Levi, I love you, he's gonna respond to me. He can hear, he just doesn't hear all of the sounds, all of the things that those of us with full hearing hear. So he did like them. We kept them in for a little bit. We played with some toys in the office to see if maybe he like reacted like they were too loud or anything like that, and he didn't. He seemed totally fine. And obviously it was a new thing, so it was kind of like, okay, is this okay? I mean, he did great when we were at the doctor's office, but then he we were at the doctor's office, so we wanted to see how it was going to work in real life. And we brought him home, and that night he came home and showed them to his brother and sister, and was all excited about them. We all made a big deal about him. We called them his Spider-Man ears or his Iron Man ears, whichever one you would know exactly what you're talking about. And I didn't know really what to expect after that. So the next day, he woke up and we put them in, and we went outside to go watch brother and sister go to the school bus, and some birds flew over our house, and they were, making their bird noises, and he noticed the bird noises. I know he has heard birds before because he has like looked up towards them, but the birds flew by, and he like looks up and he goes, "Gah, gah," because he like can hear them so much louder, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know, but he like really noticed them really quick and was like really amused by them. And then we started noticing a few things where he was like wanting the TV down lower if he was watching a movie, and he got really emotional, and it seemed as if he was getting overwhelmed, which is completely understandable. So we went to a follow-up appointment a week after that, and we had them turn down the hearing aids just a little bit, because we noticed that he was hearing sounds. Like, our living room is not much bigger than what you see in the screen, but he was standing on one side of the living room and I was standing on the other. And I said, "Hey Levi, I love you." And then he would look at me and he'd say, "I love you." And then I said, "Hey Levi, I love you." And he'd say, "I love you." And then I said, "Hey Levi." And he would look at me and I said, "I love you." And he'd say, "I love you." And I said, "Hey Levi." And he looked up at me and I was shocked. Like, he can hear me, and I was just giving a little whisper. Which before, we would call him, "Hey Levi, go put your shoes on," and he wouldn't listen. And we kind of just thought, well, that's just kids, they don't listen all the time. But it was actually in moments like that he actually wasn't hearing us, because it was at a level that he couldn't hear. So yeah, he's had his hearing aids now for a little over 6 weeks, or probably closer to 7 weeks. And the biggest thing I'm noticing is that he's extra clingy. He seems to be more emotional. Things that didn't used to bother him are bothering him a little bit more. But he's adapting well. He likes his ears. He asks to put them on every morning. He'll, for the most part, get them himself. Sometimes in the busyness of the mornings, we have been guilty of forgetting them on a Sunday morning, running out the door for church. But he's doing well. He's picking up those S sounds. He is picking up, sounds that he wasn't before, and his speech is improving. So that's really encouraging. And he's singing in my ear right now. Can you say hi? No, he's being camera shy. We are in the process of learning some sign language, and the whole family is learning that, and we're just really excited, and we look forward to keeping you guys updated on our journey. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask here in the comments. I will try to respond to them. We are definitely not pros in the hearing loss world. We're just now learning. You know, I'm joining groups that are a part of hearing, and looking into more sign language resources and things like that. So I just wanted to make this video because I know I've had a lot of people ask. I know people don't know how to ask. I know that sometimes people kind of treat him differently if they see him with the hearing aids, and it's just to say that the best thing you can do to support him is to just talk to him normal, as if there's nothing different at all. And if the ears become a point of topic, just tell him how cool he looks with his Spider-Man ears and his Iron Man ears. And he's just so brave, and he is just such a champ in my eyes. I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud to call him my son. And thank you for joining our video. We love you guys, and we will talk to you later. Bye.